Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my August TBR video. I have not done a TBR video since May, I think. So I'm very excited to talk about the books that I am planning on reading this month. I am filming this a bit late, it's August 6th. So I've actually already read a couple of these books and I will mention which of those books I have already read. But yeah, I'm definitely really excited to be getting back into making content for you guys. I have another video that I'm gonna film tonight that I'm also very excited about. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get on into this list of books. So the first couple of books I have already read. The first one being The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This is a thriller. I have read another book by this author before. It was No Exit. Now that I'm thinking about it, I still need to watch the film adaptation because I've heard pretty good things about that. But that book was just bonkers and just a really great thriller. So I was very excited going into this one because I knew that it was bookish related. We have our main character. The fact that I already forgot the main character's name is sad, but she reads this murder horror novel and she writes a 1-star review about it on Amazon. And let's just say the author is not too happy about that and things go on from there. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I thought it was a very solid thriller. Would definitely recommend it if the premise at all appeals to you. Next up on my TBR was Secrets at Sunset by Juliet Cross. She very recently released this. This is a novella in her Beauville series, which is her small town romance series. I had read Bright Like Wildfire last year and absolutely adored it. It truly is a book that I feel was written for me because it takes place in a small town in Louisiana and the two main characters are involved in a play and their local community theater and they both love acting and performing and all of that, and I just adore that book. So I was very excited going into this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. This is a brother's best friend romance, has a little bit of a forbidden element to it, and I just really liked it. It was very solid. Next up I had In Bed with the Beast by Tara Civic. I've been slowly rereading this series. This is book 2 in the Naughty Princess Club series. So as you can kind of tell from the cover and the title and everything like that, these are Disney princess movie retellings. They're romance novels and they are just kind of unhinged romances for sure. Tara Civic's sense of humor is definitely out there and a bit ridiculous, but if you just go into these books with an open mind and you want to have a good time, I think that you'll definitely enjoy them. And as you can tell, this one was a Beauty and the Beast retelling and I just loved rereading this so much. I gave this one 5 stars upon rereading. I gave it 5 stars the first time that I read it. And so that's it for all the books on my TBR that I've already read. And then I'm currently in the middle of Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. I am 33% of the way through. I have been listening to the audiobook today, especially while getting ready to film tonight. This book is kind of crazy, but I mean, I kind of knew what it was about going into it. This is also a very different book from R.F. Kuang because this is contemporary literary fiction, whereas all of her other books are adult high fantasy novels. So the plot of this one is crazy. We have June, she's a struggling author, and then she has this friend Athena. I mean, friend, they're kind of frenemies, but it seems to be kind of one-sided from June. She doesn't really like Athena because Athena's been so successful and she hasn't, and I think they went to grad school together at Yale if I'm not mistaken. And so one night they are celebrating that Athena has signed a deal with Netflix to have one of her books adapted. And that night she ends up passing away. It's no one's fault. It's really an accident. It's definitely not June's fault, but she comes across this finished manuscript of Athena's newest book. And so June decides to take the manuscript and edit it and publish it as if it's her own novel. And this is just a very interesting and intriguing story, having a lot to do with of course, the fact that Athena was Korean and this book had to do with like Chinese workers during World War I, and that this story is being published by a white author. That's definitely being explored a lot, and R.F. Kuang is just an incredible writer. I cannot put this book down. The audiobook is really well done as well, so I'm very excited to continue on with this and hopefully finish it in the next couple of days. Next up, I have Grim and Barrett by Juliet Cross, another Juliet Cross book. This is the 6th and final book in her Stay a Spell series, which is crazy to say because I have been following this series since the first book came out. I've given every book in the series 5 stars. This is truly my favorite paranormal romance series, and so we are finally getting Henry and Clara's romance. Clara is one of the 6 Savoy sisters. They're all witches, and then Henry is what is known as a Grimm. I have been very intrigued by his character, especially given his role in Always Practice Safe Hex. I believe that was book 4 of the series. He played a very interesting role in like the conclusion of that book. So very interested to learn more about him, and it's gonna be Grumpy Sunshine Perfection. Next up, we have Phantom by Greer Rivers. The audiobook for this one actually recently came out as well, so I decided to buy myself the audiobook. This is a book that has been sitting on my Kindle for months. I borrowed it off of Kindle Unlimited some months back, and it just sounds so good because it's a mafia romance, it's a Phantom of the Opera retelling, and it takes place in New Orleans. Like, that all sounds absolutely perfect to me, but I always put off reading books that don't have audiobooks, so now I literally have no excuse. The audiobook is out, I have it, I need to just go ahead and read this book. I've heard Tori from Novel Life especially rave about this one, so yes, very, very excited for sure. Next up, I have The Duchess Takes a Husband by Harper St. George. This one came out maybe last month or the month before. This is book 4, I believe, in her Gilded Age London historical romance series. I have truly enjoyed every book that I've read of this series. I still haven't read book 1 because I heard very mixed reviews about that one, but I really enjoyed books 2 and 3, so very excited about this one. All I know is that the heroine is a duchess and she is a widow, and I think her husband, who was the Duke, was not a great person. I think he was abusive to her. So very excited to see her get her second chance at romance. Next up, we have How to Tame a Wild Rogue. This just came out last week? The week before? Something like that. Like, this came out very, very recently. This is Julianne Long's most recent release. So this is the 6th and latest book in her Palace of Rogue series. This is a series that centers around this boarding house called the Grand Palace on the Thames, and I'm very excited about this book because I've seen some really great reviews from some friends that I really trust their opinion. But this series has been seriously hit or miss for me. Books 2 and 4 are like top favorite historical romances for me. I absolutely adore them. Yet book 1 I enjoyed, I gave 4 stars. Book 3 was just meh, and then the previous book that came out I kind of despised. I gave like 2 stars. So I just don't know what to expect when going into one of these books. Like, I'm a little bit scared because I don't want to hate another book in this series. I find Julianne Long's writing to be very charming. She reminds me a bit of Tessa Dare in that way. So I want to love her books. So I'm hoping that this will be a home run for me, but we will just have to see. Next up, we have Lady Reckless by Scarlett Scott. This is book 3 in her, I cannot remember what the series is called, but I read book 1, which was Lady Ruthless. Literally one of my favorite historical romances that I've read this year. I raved about it so much in my favorite romances of 2023 video. I'll link that up in the cards above. And then book 2 I recently read and gave 4 stars, really enjoyed. I just really like Scarlett Scott's writing. Her books are on Kindle Unlimited, and this series, I believe all the audiobooks on this series were available for free if you have an Audible Plus account, so definitely check that out. Next we have Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This is a book that has been on several TBRs this year, and it just never gets read. I never get to it, but I know that this is a very, very dark, heavy romance, but I know so many of my friends that this is one of their top favorite romance books of all time at this point. So I am very much looking forward to it. I think I just need to be in the right mindset because I know that it at least starts out very, very dark, because we have our main character and then the hero is actually her sister's fiance. They kind of hate each other. They get kidnapped, go through some horrible, horrifying things together, and then they get out of that situation. And so they're trying to move on from that, and they can't deny their feelings for each other. So yeah, very, very heavy, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Next, I really want to get to Rise by Claire Kent. This is the 4th and final book in her dystopian space series. I've really been enjoying this series. Hold is one of my top favorite books that I've read this year. I also raved about that in my favorite books of 2023 video. And then book 2 was just okay. Book 3 I recently read and really liked. I gave that one 4 stars. So very excited to get to this 4th and final book for sure. And then I would love to get to The Wolf and the Wildflower by Stacey Reed. I have definitely been neglecting Stacey Reed's backlist. There's so many books of hers that have come out, I feel like, in the past couple of years that I really want to get to and I just haven't. But the plot of this one sounds absolutely insane. It involves our hero who was living in the wilds of Canada for like 10 years. So I think he was practically raised by wolves. And then the heroine, I'm assuming this takes place in London, and I think she is someone who just doesn't quite fit in with London society. And so they kind of have something in common in that way. But I just watched a video today from B, from Mama Needs to Read Romance, and she did a video all about her top favorite historical romances. And she mentioned this book. So I took note of all the books that she mentioned in that video that I have not yet read, and I'm very excited to get to them because I think that B and I have very similar reading tastes, at least when it comes to historical romances. So very, very excited to get to this one. Also, this is on Kindle Unlimited, and I found the audiobook on Hoopla. I have some physical books that I want to mention. First up, I really want to get to volume 4 of Saga. If you don't know, this is a truly epic science fiction comic series that also has a very strong romantic element to it. I'm thinking that I'm gonna have to just straight up reread volume 3 because I read this all the way back in January, so I truly don't really remember what happened, but I adore the back cover of volume 3 because it's giving historical romance clinch cover perfection. So that should give you an idea of the vibe of the romantic element. I'm truly obsessed. But yes, this series is incredible. The art is amazing. The story, like I said, is just truly, truly epic. And I have never read anything like it before. So very excited to jump on back into this series ASAP. Next up, we have our pick for August for the Blushing Blue Stocking Society. We decided to go with Nighthawk by Beverly Jenkins. I have been wanting to read more of Beverly Jenkins' backlist for a long time. I think I've only read like, I think 4 of her books. And honestly, that's a crime. She's a queen. She is a historical romance, like the historical romance queen, come on. And so Lisa and I decided to go with this one. This involves, let's see, a bounty hunter, I believe, yes. And basically the hero is charged with delivering a sharp-eyed beauty to the law, who is our heroine Maggie, and of course they end up falling in love along the way. This sounds like it'll have a fair amount of action, and I mean, come on. That cover, absolutely everything. I think we decided that the live show is going to be September 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I need to make graphics for this to promote it. But yes, I'm pretty sure that's the date. I'll put the correct date if I'm wrong here. But very excited to read more from Beverly Jenkins for sure. Next up, I desperately need to reread Burn For Me by Ilona Andrews. This is book 1 in her Hidden Legacy series. This is a truly iconic urban fantasy romance series. I had read the first 3 books of the series like a year or 2 ago at this point, but recently Ilona Andrews released the 3rd book in the 2nd trilogy of the series. So there's 6 books total plus a novella. And so they recently released Ruby Fever, which is book 6. So what I'm thinking is I'll reread this whole trilogy and then I can just jump into that 2nd trilogy. All of the books in the series are on Hoopla, like the audiobooks, by the way. So once again, if you have Hoopla, look that up. But yeah, this is just an incredible series, and I cannot wait to reread these books. Next up, we have The Savage by Sophie Lark. This is the 5th and final book in her Kingmaker Chronicles series, which is a mafia romance series that centers around this mafia college. I've definitely been dragging my feet when it comes to getting to this book because I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. It sounds like, I don't know if this is 100% true, but I remember hearing from some people that Sophie didn't originally plan on writing this. She meant for the series to be 4 books and for The Spy to be the final book. But anyway, this is a couple that was introduced pretty much at the end of The Spy. So I've heard that fans kind of demanded she write this book, and so she did. And that just doesn't bode well for this book. Usually when authors write a book that they didn't initially plan on writing, it's not great. So I'm a little worried about that going into this, but I still also have high hopes because it's Sophie Lark and I love this series so much. So we will just have to see. Then I really want to get to Mafia Target by Mila Finelli. This book came out months ago. The audiobook recently came out, and the loan from my Libby app for the audiobook is coming in very, very soon. So I'm really excited about that because I have truly adored all the audiobooks for this series. And if you don't know, Mila Finelli is a pen name that Joanna Shupe uses, but these books are completely different from her Joanna Shupe books. These are contemporary, dark, bonkers mafia romances, and this one is an MM romance. We have Alessio, who is an assassin tasked to kill Giulio, and they end up falling in love. So we've got like an enemies to lovers vibe going on. Very, very, very excited to get to this, hopefully this month. And then last but not least, we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. The loan for the audiobook just came in from my library, so I'm going to be reading this very, very soon. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. I have read another book by Abby Jimenez before. It was Part of Your World, so her most recent release before this one, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Just know that with her books, there is no heat, no steam. But this one, let's see, Dr. Brianna Ortiz's life is seriously flatlining. Her divorce is just about finalized. Her brother's running out of time to find a kidney donor, and that promotion she wants, that's probably going to the new man doctor, who's already registering 80-7 on Brianna's pain in the ass scale. Just when all systems are set to hate, Dr. Jacob Maddox completely flips the game by sending Brianna a letter. Sounds very intriguing. Obsessed with this cover. I'm hoping that I love this book as much as so many of my friends have been loving it. So that is gonna be it for this August TBR. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment down below if you want to tell me about some books that you're planning on reading in August, or books that you've already read since we're already about a week or so into August. I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!